Okay, I'll try and set the record straight on Elvis's passing away. August 16, 1977, we were getting ready to go on tour. That evening we were supposed to fly to Portland, Maine. I was there at the house. It was in the afternoon around 2 o'clock. Al Strada, his wardrobe man, was there packing the wardrobe cases. I was down there on the phone talking to different people and making arrangements with the flight crew to fly out that evening. Phone call comes from upstairs on the intercom. And Ginger called down and talked to the maid. She says, is anybody down there? So Al is right here. So she hands the phone to Al Strada. She says, Al, come upstairs. Elvis has fainted. Al runs upstairs, and he calls down real quick, calls me. He says, Joe, come up here. I need you right away. So I ran upstairs. I go into the bathroom, and I see Elvis on the floor. He fell off from the commode. His face was buried into the carpeting, and I bent down real quick, and I touched him, and rigor mortis had set in. And so I turned him over real quick. I pulled up his pajamas bottoms. I turned him over and laid down, and I heard a little breath of air come out of his lungs. So I thought maybe he was going to be okay, but I just didn't feel comfortable about it. Grabbed the phone real quick. There's a phone on the wall right next to the commode, and I called 911, and I said, we need an ambulance at Graceland. We should get somebody real quick. And then Al picked up the phone and tried to get Dr. Nick while I was trying to. Now, there's a story that says I gave Elvis mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I did not give Elvis mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. No, you couldn't. His mouth was closed shut, and there's no way I could open his mouth. But I did try to massage on his heart. At that point, things were starting to happen. Vernon was in the office. He came up to the bathroom. He came in and he started, saying, Elvis, don't leave us. Just hang in there. And then Ginger was there, and Lisa Marie was at Graceland at the time. Lisa came running around, and she's standing there too. And I asked Ginger, please get Lisa out of here. And we're waiting for the ambulance to show up. And meanwhile, Al got a hold of Dr. Nick. He was on his way to Graceland. The ambulance shows up. It seemed like it took forever for the ambulance to get there. The guys came up, and they started lifting Elvis up and got him on the stretcher. We went out the front door rather, took Elvis in the stretcher. Got him in the back of the ambulance. Just as we got out there, Dr. Nick pulled up. He jumped out of his car, jumped in the back of the ambulance, and it was Charlie Hodge, Dr. Nick, and myself went to the hospital with Elvis. We got to Baptist Memorial Hospital. The ride to the hospital seemed like it took forever too, and Dr. Nick was trying to talk to Elvis, hang in there, and he had whatever that bottle is with the oxygen over his mouth, hoping that could revive him. Got to the hospital. The emergency room people were waiting for us when we got there. Took him on a stretcher and took him into the emergency room real quick, and they stopped me and Charlie from coming in there. Dr. Nick went in there, and they escorted Charlie and I to another room. Meanwhile, all hell was breaking loose in different parts, and the rumors were getting around. And Elvis's cousin Billy Smith came to the hospital, met me there. I don't even remember who else showed up. And they took us to the room. We were sitting there waiting to find out what was going on. And about 20 minutes later, Dr. Nick came into the room where we were. And he walked and he said, Elvis is gone. And it was hard. And the PR guy from the hospital wanted to know if I want to make the announcement to the press. And I said, I'll try. But meanwhile, Dr. Nick said, don't say anything to anybody yet. I'm going to go back to the house and tell Vernon before it hears it on the news. So the police department was there, and they took Dr. Nick out to the hospital, out to the house. And meanwhile, I got on the phone and called Priscilla to tell her that Elvis is gone. And she wasn't home at the time. I got a hold of her sister, Michelle. And Michelle said, what's wrong? And I said, I got to talk to Priscilla. And just so happened, Priscilla came in the house at the time. And I told her what happened. And she went hysterical. And she said, how's Lisa? How's Lisa? I said, Lisa's fine. You know, don't worry about that. I said, I'll make arrangements to have the plane come out and get you. And then I called Colonel Parker in Portland, Maine, and got him on the phone and told him what happened. And he sort of didn't know what to say. He was in shock at the time. He said, okay, do what you have to do. I'll be there this evening. And at that point, press was all starting to show up. The rumors were getting around. Newspapers were showing up, and radio stations were announcing Elvis is in the hospital. And I just couldn't go out and talk to the press, so I had the PR guy from the hospital talk to him. He made the announcement to them that Elvis had passed away of a heart attack. Charlie and Billy and I all hugged each other and had the police department, one of the police department then took us back to the house, Graceland. Just went into a mode to help. I went and saw Vernon, talked to him, and I told him, if there's anything you need, we're here to help you. We all got together and figured out how to make arrangements for this, for Elvis's funeral. And we just did it. It was a lot of work. Phone calls were coming in from around the world. Ann Margaret called. She was playing Vegas at the time, and she wanted to come. And I said, well, you know, it's going to be a mess here. And she says, I'm going to come anyhow. So her and Roger Smith came, and George Hamilton showed up, and a lot of the other people, we just said, just don't come, it's going to be too hectic. And we started making arrangements. And Vernon asked me if we could get all white limousines for the funeral, because Elvis loved white. The Memphis Funeral Home, the people came out and saw us, and Vernon wanted the same casket that he had for Elvis's mother, Gladys, same casket for Elvis. I have to give those people credit. They really did a good job, because it was made of solid copper. And it weighed a ton. They had to fly it in from another state. He got all these limousines from different states around. We all just worked together and did it. It took me about 3 months after Elvis was gone to realize he was gone. You know, we did what we had to do for his sake. The procession of the people coming in through the house was just unbelievable. These people were crying, they were fainting. It was tough, but we did it. And I think Elvis was pretty proud of the way it was handled, you know. And it was a day I'll never forget.